Hey, welcome to the Autopsy of Unwise Choices, a journey we're going to take into the crossroads of life and the consequences that follows. I'm your host, P.D. Ware, bringing you nearly 2 decades of experience from the deaf industry. Each episode, we will dissect the real-life stories and peel back the layers of decisions that have been leading our youth to unfortunate ends. Our mission, to illuminate the path of wiser choices for our youth. So let's embark on this journey together, because every choice tells a story. Are you ready to listen? Hey, welcome to the Autopsy of Unwise Choices. I'm your host, P.D. Ware, and I'm grateful that you're joining me today for episode number 4, No Way But Up. Now, I created this podcast, the Autopsy of Unwise Choices, in order to transform the decision-making of our youth. With all of the headlines that we've been seeing, not only in the city of Memphis, but nationwide, is that gun violence and violence in general is wreaking havoc on families and on our communities. And I wanted to share from my perspective, with nearly 20 years in the deaf industry, what being in that position, the amount of devastation, that's being witnessed on a constant basis, and just the compound effects that it's had. And so I wrote No Way But Up in 2022, and I'm going to share one of the stories with you today from that book. Now, this book is not based on a specific case that I've had, but what I did when I sat down to write this book, and there's 6 mini stories in there, and it's the decisions that we've seen over and over and over ended so many youth in our cooler. And when I say cooler, I mean the cooler at the medical examiner's office. And an autopsy is a postmortem examination. When we talk about the forensic autopsy specifically, and that is to determine the cause and manner of death when there's violence involved. And that could be homicides, suicides, all accidental deaths, sudden unexplained deaths fall into that category. Focusing specifically on the violence that we've seen wreaking havoc in homes and communities all over, and especially in the place that we hold dear in our city here in Memphis, Tennessee. And so I'm going to share one of those stories with you, uh, where the headlines just hits home, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it in detail. And the name of the story is called Innocent. Baby girl, wake up. Wake up, baby girl. Baby girl, it's safe. We can get up now, said her father. But there was no response. He didn't see the large hole in his 5-year-old's head until he tried to stand her up, and she went limp in his arms. A normal day at the park was interrupted by a traveling bullet from a street over where a group of individuals fought. As brain matter oozes from her head, her inconsolable father screams at the top of his lungs, and the only thing passerbys can do is cry in shock. The crime scene is taped off, death officially pronounced, and the body placed in a small body bag and taken from the scene. Remnants of blood and broken bullets are still visible on the ground. Cause of death, gunshot wound to the head. Manner of death, senseless homicide. And we've heard too many stories like that over and over again. How many more people got to lose their life for us to wake up and get it? For our kids to realize that one mistake, an argument, something petty, settling a beef so they can prove that they're the toughest. And now a child has lost their life due to senselessness. And we see this over and over and over again. And I know hearts are heavy. I know minds are working overtime day and night, trying to figure out what can we do? What can we do? What do we do? How do we combat the problem that we're seeing? They're constantly going out, making bad decisions, not caring about the people that it's going to affect, not caring about how it's going to affect them, not caring about how it's going to affect their families until it's too late. So if you're out there, if you got kids and they're listening, they're watching, you can hear my voice. It's not too late to change trajectories, to get on a different path, a path that's going to lead to self awareness, that's going to lead to positivity, that's going to lead to productivity, that's going to lead to them being around long enough to realize that their life matters, that there is purpose for them being in this world. And it's not to pick up a gun to show somebody how tough they are. It's not to pick up a gun to go out and rob somebody for something that they worked hard for. It's so vital that we really, really, really talk about the preciousness of life and how it can be gone just like that. And for all of our families that have lost their loved ones, their babies, my heart goes out to you every single day. There's not a case that I've had where children are involved where I don't think about it every single day. It's not natural to have to cut into a child to retrieve bullet fragments. It's not. Show me where it is. Show me where it's natural that we have to do such extensive exams on our babies for careless decisions by 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. It's heartbreaking. So, how do we transform? How do we light that spark in them that starts the journey of transformation? For me, the one thing I know that made a difference in my life growing up was having a support system. And it don't take but one person to show interest in a child to let them know that, hey, their life matters. And so if there's a child that's out there that you know that you can make a difference in their life, that's my plea to you. Do something about it. Don't wait until it's too late and we dropping off bereavement cards or going by a visitation and we looking at kids stretched out in the front of a church, in the front of the funeral home chapel. Because then there's nothing else left to say. We must encourage our kids, but we must also train up our kids from a young age, teaching them the value of life, teaching them the importance of discipline, being responsible, teaching them the building blocks, the basics of life, so that they can have the tools that they need on the journey, and them not just relying on what they see every day. And a lot of them see hopelessness. They're not being encouraged at home. We have so many of our parents are trying, they're out here working, multiple jobs, trying to provide and not being able to keep a close eye on what they're doing. So now here comes an association that's giving them some attention and they're slowly every single day pulling them away from their home where mom is telling them, hey, look, I need you doing your homework. I need you to stay at the house. There's nobody there to reinforce that. So they get pulled away every single day. And every day that they're pulled away, it is compounding the influence that these outside agencies have on them. Makes it so much harder to reel them back in. But you know what? We're not giving up. We're not gonna quit. I'm definitely not. And I share with kids that if you're old enough to make grown-up decisions, then I think you're old enough to know what those consequences are. And we got to be able to think through every decision that we make. And even as adults, sometimes we don't think through everything, but it's important to sit down and evaluate, okay, I pick up a gun or I'm going to inflict harm on somebody else, take something from somebody else. What are the potential consequences for that? Got to think and get them thinking beyond that moment. Because if I pick up a gun, one, a lot of times the ones that have guns never get a chance to use them. Number two, I may not lose my life, but my life could be altered in such a way that may cause my mom or my dad, my family to have to quit their job to take care of me full time. Because having that gun and going into certain situations, I got shot. And now I'm paralyzed. Life, what I consider normal, is no more. I'm bound to a wheelchair. I've got to learn how to do things in a totally different way. And in some aspects, I may be totally dependent on somebody else. And then if you go a step further, think about the pressure and the stress that it puts on the family, having to be present 24 hours a day. And oftentimes their needs being neglected. Or you having that gun or you resulting to violence lands you in jail. Now that little brother, that little sister that was at home, they see that you were hanging in there. Now their positive influence that they had is gone. So those outside influences that were trying to pull you, gonna easily be able to get to them. Maybe they're not as strong as you. They don't have the resilience, the mental resilience as big brother, as big sister. Because we've had so many young ladies too, not just men. Now, young men, African Americans, are 19 times more likely to die due to gun violence than females. And die due to gun violence than Caucasian females. Just think about that. African American males, 19 times more likely to die due to gun violence than Caucasian males. And our African American females, 6 times more likely to die due to gun violence than Caucasian females. On the wrong side of the road in a car going fast. Control. Some that are losing control. And we want to get them before they even think about getting in that car. Because for a lot of our babies, second chances may not be an option. And for those are the ones that have shown up. Just so unfortunate because that's the point of no return. That's when the grace card gets laid down, never to be picked up anymore for that child. And the anguish and the trauma that it causes a family, every holiday, every birthday, every special occasion for the rest of their lives. Slowly, slowly inflicting pain all over again. His families. The one thing for me that made a huge difference outside of having somebody to believe in me was believing in myself. Guys, and even at a young age, that there was something unique. And just, I remember having a thought that there is something good there. And even though I hadn't fully grasped it, I knew at some point I will. And so as I think about that, from being 13 and 14 years old to now being in my 40s, and a lot of the manifestation that's happening in my life at this point. And so my message to our youth, to our families, to our communities is to don't stop working. Don't give up. Don't lose the faith. This is a battle that's taking everything that we got. But we have the tools. Just continue to work to connect the puzzle pieces correctly in order to solve the problem that we're faced with. And as I stated before with the autopsy exam, it is a highly meaning when it comes to violence, every injury, the significance of that injury. So that they can make sure that when the exam is done, the circumstances, these decisions that are causing our youth to come to unfortunate ends. And for all of my youth out there that's getting up every day and choosing to get on the right side of the road, to be cautious, to be mindful, to be courteous, to be positive, my hat's off to you. Pull somebody into your circle that you have influence over and encourage them every chance that you get, and continue to let your light shine so that others will see that goodness through it. They may not understand it, but don't hide your light from them. Continue to press forward and doing great things. And we have a lot of our kids in the city that are doing great things, that are competing not only in sports, but excelling in academics. And every parent wants that for their child. I don't believe in my heart and in my mind that a parent ever starts out, ever wants their child to be on the wrong side of the law, to put themselves in a position to not only lose their life or alter their life, but to inflict that on somebody else. And for all of our kids that are going through because of trauma, the city will not rest. My voice will not rest until my heart does. Till it stops beating. And time soon. So you'll be seeing a lot more of this face as I'm going out into schools, into the community, and sharing my message that the better choices you make, the better chances you create for your life. And for those that got hard heads and your mission is complete. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Autopsy of Roma's Choices. Be blessed.